little bit energy left. My name is Piotr Tomiak, and I'm a senior software developer at JetBrains. I'm working on WebStorm, and I'm responsible for Angular and Vue.js tooling. Anyone using those? Okay, cool. So maybe something new for other people, because I'll be using Angular in my example application for demo. Okay, so what I want to talk to you about today is how to be more productive with your IDE. And of course I'll be using WebStorm, but I guess some of the good advices will be you'll be able to apply to any other IDEs. There is a lot of obvious stuff here, right? Talk to your friends about features your IDE has, about cool features in Eclipse, in WebStorm. It sounds obvious, but I joined JetBrains like 1.5 years ago, and I was using Eclipse before, and there is this cool feature called code hierarchy, where you can open it especially when you refactor some old code and you need to see how it's being used all around the code. And so I'm like on some team meeting, I'm saying like, yeah, it would be cool if we have something like code hierarchy, and they're like, but yeah, we do have it. So there's some things which help you to know what you can learn and what you can, how you can improve your productivity with the features. So for instance, okay, that's a really small resolution. Okay, so for instance, I'm using quite a lot of those features like navigation. For instance, there is this go to file thing where I can go to app list TS directly to the component. And that speeds up productivity, okay? So when you when you want to learn a new feature, it's good to start with only one. So for instance, recently I've learned some shortcut to push my commits directly without going through the menus. And yeah, I know it's kind of silly, because I can go here and I can push like that, but apparently it speeds up quite a lot if you know a lot of such features. And let me cover a little bit about what you can actually learn to improve your speed of your coding. On an editor level, you can on the editor level, there are various things when you yeah, right. Sorry, just a second. Okay. Okay. So when you want to improve your coding speed, you can move to distraction-free mode, which basically clears out all those unneeded windows around and forces you to actually use keyboard all the time, to not use mouse. So in such case, it's sometimes hard to, for instance, switch to another file, and it forces you to actually use keyboard only. So in such cases, you can use navigation bar to navigate to files. But much better solutions are to actually use quite powerful features like searching for symbols. And in WebStorm, you can actually search for any symbol. It can be even a private, or this actually is public field, but it can even be a private field. there is quite a few things which help with navigation. In Angular, for instance, you have something like related symbol, where you can quickly switch between template and component styles tests, avoiding going to the project explorer and back again. Some other frameworks has some other specific solutions here. So that would be a little bit about navigation, and there is quite a lot of these things to, I would say, discover. So what I would advise you to do is open the key map reference, which is, you can grab one over there, or you can print one yourself, and just ensure that you know those actions and see whether they can help you, especially during for coding, for navigation. One of the advantages of full IDEs over text editors is that they understand your code, and thanks to that you can type less. So, as I understood, there's not many people familiar with Angular, but Angular has one very tedious thing, which are modules. They are pretty awesome, but because they allow you to encapsulate all your code within a module, and libraries and everything has their own spaces for components. But you have to import modules from those libraries, and if you're to import something, you would have to add it here in the imports, then write also import here, and yeah, that's pretty tedious. So what you can do in an IDE, you can basically use, and this is material accordion component. Okay, so when an IDE auto-completes some stuff, usually you would expect that after code completion everything is fine. So this action added us this expansion module, so it got auto-imported. And this is just a simple this is just one of the examples of how IDE can assist. By coding less, and I don't know, but probably it happens often, at least for me, that when I'm within the template, or I sometimes type a variable and I forgot that I haven't defined it in the component. And there is another quite powerful feature in WebStorm where you can where you have something like quick fixes, intentions, where you can fix an invalid code by invoking some action like create caption, or even something like intentions where you have a valid code, but you want to do something with it. So, for instance, I have something like that. And, well, it's using regular strings. So what I can do is I can replace all of this with template. When I want to move my code to a more modern syntax or something like that. So, so there's there's quite a lot of nice things available in the context actions menu in WebStorm. With that comes also refactoring, and there is a lot of support for refactoring in IDEs. For instance, if I have this caption variable, I can rename it and say title, for instance, and all usages of this variable will be renamed, including the usages within the HTML templates. So when using, learning to trust refactoring is one of the things which really speeds up coding, especially if you do some refactoring, if you have some old project and you need to change some stuff in it. Okay, there are also things like live templates, Emmet. Are there any people using Emmet here? Cool. Some. So Emmet is a way to quickly create a set of tags from a simple CSS-like expressions. So I would like to write something like that, or maybe add some ID, and that would quickly scaffold the HTML elements for me. I'm not very familiar with Emmet, but you can also specify how many times you want to repeat something, and it's quite powerful. And if you're doing a lot of front-end, that's probably a really time-saving feature. Another area where IDE can really help you is having everything within the same context. So you have linters, you have test runners integrated, VCS, debugger. How many people is using debugger? Cool. That's cool. I think that if I asked that something like 4 or 5 years, there would be much less hands, and that's because for a long time JavaScript debuggers were pretty bad, right? I really hated when I had to do some JavaScript coding back like around 4 or 5 years ago. I'm from Java background, and without debugger in Java, you just can't do anything. Okay, so what was that? Linters. Linters. Let me switch to the component. So I have something here already. I did some mistake. So what it tells me? It tells me that TSLint tells me that this identifier is never reassigned. So I can run linter in the terminal, but for that, I mean, it's not that bad actually. The terminals are already integrated with IDEs, but it's much better if I open the context action and I either fix only this thing, or I can fix all the problems within the file immediately. Yeah, and the next thing was the tests. So let me switch to the test for car list. Is this that? No, that's the wrong one. Up components, tests. This one. Okay. So what I can do here is I can actually put the breakpoint. Yes. I'm in the distraction-free mode, and in distraction-free mode there is nothing showing on the left side. I need to exit it. Okay. So with integrated test runners, you can run your Karma, Jest, Protractor tests directly from the editor, and you can choose which test you want to run, and you can debug them as well. So the debugger will be automatically attached to the process, and you'll be able to see the execution and evaluate the execution of the test within the context of your editor. So just a second until the Karma starts. Okay. So we have the test started, and for instance, let's assume that the test is failing for you and you don't know why, and console log doesn't help much. So you can put a breakpoint, and you can evaluate the state of variables of your web page. You can run some code, and for instance, say fixture.destroy, right? That's something I can evaluate, and probably it broke. I think this is a pretty powerful feature if you do it from within the IDE. So that's something I would recommend testing and learning to use. And I think last of the most important parts is the CVS integration, like Git. You can, of course, do that from terminal, right? You can do git stage choose and see what our what files we have changed, and we can do git diff. Yeah, but it's I don't think it's a very usable feature. With WebStorm you have a really nicely listed local changes where you can kind of create your commit, see what you have actually changed. You can pick up only some of the changes. So with a particular commit you can actually pick only some changes from the file. If you are within the file, you get sorry for the resolution, it's too small. You get a content assist within it. You get familiar color coding, so you don't lose the context. You're using the same thing you've been using all the time to develop the code, and to prepare for the commit, to check your changes, which is pretty important. And when it comes to cherry picking stuff, you can also do that from here. There's a pretty nice filter system where I can choose only my user, or I can select other users. I believe there is not much users here, but on this repository. Or you can change branches and filter and show only some branches, especially useful for cherry picking. And one last thing would be an interactive rebase. I'm not sure whether anyone, how many people are using interactive rebase? Thank you. Okay, cool. So that's pretty much. We have an interactive rebase dialog as well here, where you can nicely, sort your commits, how you want them, squash them, edit them, and then resolve conflicts, within the familiar diff view of WebStorm or other IDEs. That would be most of it. So I think it's important. Those shortcuts I think are quite important. The first one allows you to find any action, and that's a learning, and that way you can learn the shortcut of the action. Content assist and quick fix intention. The last one is used only by 30% of our users, and we put 90% of functionality there. So yeah, we are kind of reminding everyone that there is alt-enter thing. You can learn more about our stuff on documentation pages, tutorials, videos, and if you ever have any troubles, or you can reach out to our tech support or report issues on our tracker. And the issues on the tracker are public, so you can also see what we're doing. Thank you very much. Any questions?
Máme otázky?
Mikrofon nefunguje.
Ne? Funguje. Dobrý pokus. Tak. Pán ve vesti, který ještě dneska nemluvil.
Thank you. I know that everything in one IDE is good, but what if I want to keep the console separated and it keeps the console separated, like the Git and everything, because I'm used to something. It's good you can do it everything in one, but sometimes I don't need to use just one monitor. I have like 2 or 3, and it's
okay, so I think you can float the terminal and move it to the other screen. So you can float your terminal and move to the other screen, and it will keep your local kind of environment directory locations for all open tabs. So you get all open tabs. And also some of them, so we know that terminal is important, right? Of course. and some of the command actions will execute in the terminal directly. So, like if you do npm install from within the IDE, it will also open the terminal window and run a command in the terminal. I think that if you, a solution for you would be to just float the terminal and move it to your separate screen. I don't know if it asks, answers more or less, yeah.
I didn't mean this one, but because in a profile I have some aliases. So I have a short for the command.
And you can use them here because this is a bash terminal. Yeah.
Problem solved.
One, yeah, you can do everything.
Okay. Další otázka?
Another question, okay.
Thank you. I am using a Sublime Text for VS Code now, and I really love the feature of multi-cursor. But I'm not sure if there's something.
Yes. Wait.
Yes, of course.
Yes, it is. It is multi-cursor. Okay. So yeah, this is that's what I meant. I mean, there are so many features that I just was able to say mention only a few of them, and a lot of them are here. Like multi-cursor is here. I'm going to remove that.
Thank you.
Sorry. Yeah. Anyone missing any other features?
And you will read the rest on the workshop.
Yes.
Right? Good. Thank you very much, Piotr.